as we were filling up some of the niches in the program, my co-conspirators thought it was would be an amazing idea for me to give a very brief retrospective on the rise and fall, although falls may be a little too strong, of books and browsers. So I thought that was a really fascinating idea, and I want to do that really quickly for you. So many of us lived through this kind of arc of publishing endeavor, which seemed at the time to have ebbed. And in part, this conference is a test of the temperature of the water to see if there might be that kind of vibrancy emerging again. And so you're all part of that experiment. But very briefly, books and browsers, in some ways came about oddly, even before I started working at Brewster, or for Brewster at the Internet Archive, just before, when this crazy brilliant guy named Neelan Chokshi, who started a company called Lexical that was acquired by Amazon. Lexical was one of the first mobile e-reading apps on the market, and at the time was kind of brilliant. And Neelan had this problem of, I want to figure out how to show my readers what books are available to them. And I really don't want to do all of these expensive metadata schemes like MARC or, oh God, what is that horrible publisher's metadata scheme? I don't even want to think about it. What else could I use? And he touched some people at O'Reilly. I don't know if it actually might have been John or CJ or who, but somebody suggested, well, you might look at Atom, which is an RDF format for serialization. And that became OPDS. That became the Open Publication Distribution System. And so right as Neelan was getting his company purchased, he convened a very small group of us from O'Reilly and Bill McCoy, from Adobe, myself, a couple of others, and said, hey, could you take this and do something with it as an open source? And Bill actually was the one who then wrote a blog post that said, Open Publication Distribution System is the new name for the standard. And so off we ran. And so when I started working for Brewster, the very first conference we had was essentially one that gave birth to an institutionalization of OPDS as a format. And then at the time, Brewster was very jazzed about this idea of moving forward with the conversation around getting books in front of people on the web. And he sat me down in his office and said, surely there's something we can do about having a conference that will get this idea of people being able to read on the web like more ubiquitous. I mean, books on the web, right? I mean, it seems like a natural thing. Can't we do a conference about that? Well, let's do a conference about that. So I hope I'm channeling Brewster's enthusiasm well enough. And so we did. And so we went off and we applied our absolutely brilliant marketing minds, and we decided to call the conference Books and Browsers. And we were very fortunate in getting support not only from Brewster and his facility, and O'Reilly was a partner with that conference, and O'Reilly was also giving birth to Tools of Change, which Andrew Savickas was spearheading at that time. And we were extraordinarily fortunate in every year that Books and Browsers ran that we were able to receive a grant from the Mellon Foundation. And that grant from the Mellon Foundation really enabled us to be sustainable. Without that, it would be really difficult because we were not attracting, to begin with, particularly a lot of outside sponsorships or a lot of large companies. So Books and Browsers captured the zeitgeist of this rush of new interest in taking advantage of the web to recreate publishing and reading in an online environment, particularly a vision that was open and unencumbered by the kind of hindrances and barriers that people had had in the past. And with that vision, there was a gathering of people who were like-minded in broad terms, and we were very fortunate in being able to convene in San Francisco on a mostly annual basis. I think there was a skip year here or there, but mostly annual basis. And we had support from O'Reilly, then we had support from Frankfurt Book Fair, and it was certainly a gathering that people looked forward to. But after about 5 or 6 years, I think all of us started to realize that we were having the same conversation over and over again. And the title of this talk session, Here We Go Again, comes about because at one of the last BIBs that we held, I well remember John Maxwell from Simon Fraser, who was giving a presentation with Peg Arman, and he stood up here and said, he looked out at the audience, seeing all of us gathered there, and said, oh, well, here we go again. And the sense was, we had a lot of effort. Some people had been able to start new businesses, some people pivoted, some people failed. But that there wasn't as much of an impact as we had actually wanted there to be at that time. And the next year, Books and Browsers actually pivoted to more of a media-rich, media-interactive session. It was more AR, VR, and beginning to explore alternative forms of storytelling. And it was around that time, too, that a prior recurrent participant that many of you know, Liza Daly, penned a blog post that was also very meaningful for me. That was along the lines of, how do you do a publishing startup? And her first sentence was, time travel back to 2007. And her point was that as the web fabric, the web tech was being rebuilt with a new stack, the new software stack, there was a set of opportunities to seize in building e-readers and building different production workflows and designing sort of new reading applications that could integrate with the production systems. And then that era kind of passed. And publishers either adopted new tech or more often they didn't. And so at the end of that period of innovation, as we were beginning to pivot, Mellon kind of said, this is not what we kind of signed up for. And so they started to back out, and it was pretty clear that if we continued, we would be a very different conference. And we were really sold on this Books and Browsers idea. And so we decided to put a close to Books and Browsers, and Tools of Change ended about the same time for a set of reasons that are not too dissimilar, although it was a very different model. So, and then this thing called COVID happened. So this conference is really for those of us who are organizing it, who are all veterans of that era, for all of us, is an effort to see, has enough changed? Are there new opportunities? The things that we can talk about today, tomorrow, and in the days to follow, the connections we've made here, is it enough for people to go back and spark new ideas that drive new kinds of innovation and new kinds of partnerships? That's the test, in part, that we are laying out to this community. Because we really, to be frank, don't want to be standing here next year to say, here we go again. We want to see, we would like to see, we hope to see new energy, new ideas, new vision being built on top of new web technologies, new ways of delivering information, new understanding about how people are learning and reading and appreciating the opportunities that technology and publishing can provide them. And so that's what we hope. We want to be here next year, but we're going to be looking forward to your feedback to help us understand if this is the time. So there'll be a survey, and really, when we do send out that survey to those of you who've come this year, be honest. I know we all appreciate being with each other and sharing each other's stories and company, but remember this question that I'm asking. Is this a time, can we start again Can we build again? Can we create anew? Because that's what we want to hear. Thank you very much for coming. I hope you enjoy yourself. We have a bar open for a couple of hours here. Please wind down, enjoy the city, enjoy North Beach, and we look forward to having you here tomorrow morning. We start again at the same time. Doors open at 8. There'll be food and goodies. Please join us. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much.